Hello there, VT English 4 students. This week we're going to be looking at narrative, voice, and characterization. So let's get started. So what is narrative voice? Well, most of us think of it as first person, second person, or third person, but it's a little bit more than that. It's who is telling the story. It's the perspective used to relay the events of a story, so it's really a little bit more involved. So first person perspective typically is a character from within the story. The story usually is told using pronouns using like I, me, my, we, us, our. So they're included in the storyline. Readers may know what the narrator is thinking and feeling because he or she is telling the story. We don't usually know what the other characters are thinking though. Second person perspective, we don't typically see stories told from the second person perspective. It's usually used to make commands or persuade others, so we'll skip over that one for today. Third person perspective is greatly used in storytelling, using the pronouns he, she, they, her, or his. There's different types. One type is limited, where the readers don't know the thoughts or characters of the characters. This is also called objective, where the author is able to hear the story, just the facts, no biases, no backstory, anything like that. But if the narrator knows all the thoughts and intentions in the past and future of all the characters, then that's called omniscient third person perspective. However, if the narrator only knows the thoughts and feelings of one character, then it's called limited omniscient. So when we're analyzing a piece of literature or something for narrative voice, we look at the point of view, which is first person or second or third person. We look at the degree of omniscience, the degree of objectivity, and the degree of reliability. So the degree of omniscience, again, is third person perspective. It answers the question, how much does the narrator tell the readers the thoughts and feelings of characters, and how much they are able to do that. If it's all characters, then it's unlimited. If it's one character, then it's called limited omniscient. The next one is the degree of objectivity that we look at. Like I said before, if it's just the facts at the present time, no backstory, no commentary, then it's going to be the objective, unbiased. However, there's one called framed, where we get the background established. We hear some internal commentary so that we can kind of hear what's going on or some reasons why things go on. And then the third one is the degree of reliability. Is the narrator reliable? What are their motives? Why are they telling the story the way they are? Are they biased? Are they racist? Are they against certain characters? Things like that. They tell us about the motivation, the personality, the mental and moral state of the narrator. So those are some things we can analyze, and it helps us with meaning in the story. So let's switch to characterization. Now, before we talked about characterization as being, how we describe characters. Well, it does, and it refers to the process authors use to reveal that to us. It reveals their personality, their motivations, and their demeanor, their personality, if they're nice, if they're mean, jealous, things like that. It's how authors make the characters believable and authentic. Authors use both direct and indirect strategies to accomplish this. So direct characterization is explicitly or told overtly to readers through dialogue, what they say or what is said about them directly. their actions. If they act like a bad person, then they're overtly or directly characterized that way. What they wear, their appearance, their their accessories, what do those things tell about them directly? And then sometimes the narrator will directly make comments about them. Indirect characterization, you imply, okay? So implicitly revealed to readers through dialogue and actions. What is said and what is done, but it's more implied, okay? For example, in The Most Dangerous Game, Rainsford, the main character, looked at one of the bad guys, Ivan, and said, "He looks as if the giant were a statue," and giving no sign that he understood. So he was just standing there, and he didn't act like he knew what was being said to him. The author didn't tell us that the character was deaf and mute. It just was implied. Also, indirect characterization with first person is a little bit different because one of the characters is telling the story. So, for example, in Edgar Allan Poe's A Cask of Amontillado, it's told in first person, and so we're able to perceive their thoughts and their feelings as we read the story. And then it helps us as readers to become active participants, helps us to make judgments and make assertions or imply things. Here's an example. "It must be understood that neither by word or by deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my good will." So this implies that the narrator had tricked Fortunato into going with him into this wine cellar of sorts, where he, as you can tell from the picture, chained him up and was about to wall him in. So he was able to, we as readers were able to imply his true meaning, our feelings. So analyzing characterization. When we're looking at characters, think about Coyle. His physical description, that was a big part of the Coyle passage. Then look at the backstory, look at the background. How was he raised? What happened in his past that shaped him as an adult? How did his dad treat him? Things like that. And then his relationships and interactions. How was Coyle in his relationship with his family? How was he at school or at university or at his jobs? How did he interact with them? These are all great things to look at and as we analyze characterization. All right, the next one is dialogue and thoughts. If we know the thoughts of the characters, then we can analyze that and what they say. So does the character have a good moral integrity, or is the character a bad guy, or what are their motives, things like that. And then the last one, values and beliefs. What do they value? What would they stand and fight for? What are their beliefs? Those are some great things as we analyze characterization. Alright, well that should be good for this video. I'll talk to you soon.